Have you ever caught yourself scrolling back through old conversations? Messages from months ago, maybe years ago. A thread you have read before, more than once, and yet you open it again anyway. I do this too, and now I want to share with you what it means. It might be a conversation with someone you lost, someone you miss, or someone who hurt you. And something keeps pulling you back to those words. Psychology says this habit is far more common than people admit, and the reasons behind it reveal something deeply human. 1. They are searching for something they did not catch the first time. When a relationship ends or something goes wrong, the mind goes into investigation mode. It replays events, looking for the moment things shifted. The message where the tone changed. The reply that came too late. The words meant something different from what they seemed. Rereading becomes a way of searching for answers the other person never gave directly. The conversation is over, but the mind is still trying to understand it. Still looking for the explanation that would finally make everything make sense. The problem is that the answers are rarely in the messages, but the searching continues anyway. 2. Old messages feel like proof that something was real. Feelings fade, memories blur, but a message stays exactly as it was written. For people who have lost someone, through a breakup, a falling out, or death, old conversations can feel like the last solid evidence that the connection existed, that those moments happened, that they were not imagined. Rereading is not always about missing the person. Sometimes it is about preserving the reality of something that no longer exists anywhere except in those words. It is a way of holding on to a version of life that has already passed. 3. They are processing emotions that were never fully felt. Sometimes people reread old messages, not because they are looking for answers, but because something in those words still has emotional weight that was never fully released. Psychologists call this incomplete emotional processing. When an experience ends abruptly, or when someone suppresses how they actually felt at the time, the emotion does not disappear. It waits. And certain triggers, a name, a phrase, a familiar tone, can reactivate it. Going back through old messages is sometimes the mind's way of finally sitting with feelings it avoided the first time around. The rereading is not regression. It is a delayed processing. 4. It feels like spending time with someone they can no longer reach. This is one of the quieter reasons, and one of the most painful. When someone is gone, truly gone, in any sense of the word, their messages become a way of being near them again. Reading their words feels, for a moment, like hearing their voice, like they are still present somewhere inside the screen. It is not delusional. It is grief doing what grief does, reaching for whatever small piece of the person remains accessible. And for many people, a saved conversation is one of the last places that person still exists in any form. 5. They are trying to rewrite how they feel about themselves. Not all rereading is about the other person. Sometimes people go back through old messages looking for evidence about themselves, proof that they were loved, confirmation that they were not crazy, validation that they handled things well, or recognition that they did not. The messages become a mirror, a way of reviewing their own behavior, their own worth, their own role in something that mattered to them. Psychologists describe this as a form of self-narrative processing, using past evidence to construct or revise the story a person tells about who they are. The conversation ended, but the meaning of it is still being decided. Some habits look like weakness from the outside. Rereading old messages can seem like an inability to move on, but most of the time it is something quieter than that. It is the mind doing the slow, patient work of making sense of something that mattered. If you enjoy learning the hidden psychology behind everyday human behavior, subscribe to the channel. Because once you understand why people make the choices they do, you begin seeing things about human nature that most people completely overlook.